All the news is about Wolverine in his yellow costume.
Oh yeah, which is now delayed because of not only the writer strike but the actor strike, because the script was already written. So Ryan Reynolds couldn't improvise, was the news,
right?
Because that would be a writing credit, and he'd be a scab if he improvised.
Right.
Which, I don't know. It should be different, but I don't know. That's me. But then now that it's the Actors Guild, now they have to halt, and a lot of productions have halted. So we're gonna get more droughts. So it's a good thing YouTube's around, right?
I'll be fine.
I'll be fine.
If anything, when a new episode of Secret Invasion comes up, I'm like, oh no. That's how I regard commercial media. I'm like, do I have to see Indy 5? I didn't. I didn't. Nor did anyone.
Yeah. Well, that was Bob Iger recently came out and he's like, yeah, we're gonna be making less of these and the budgets will be cheaper. I'm like, I've been saying this.
Yeah. No shit. I mean, yeah. Can you also make them a little shorter in the case of, say, Little Mermaid? Could Little Mermaid not be 2.5?
Yeah, please. Not make your kids' movies, long, boring, filled with crap. Yeah.
This morning, when you posted that article in Discord, I was like, it was our Dream Prophet was like, well, anybody with a brain would have known that, like, you can't just dilute the brand by releasing like 1 million shows, and our friend Dan was like, well, now I think that might be a little bit of Captain Hindsight talking there. At the time, we thought that 1 million shows might make sense. I was like, I never thought it made any goddamn sense, Dan. I remember hearing about it and being like, I remember the Netflix shows alone. I tapped out of real fast. I was like, I can't do that shit. Like, I like you, Marvel. I don't love you. Okay. And you're trying to engage me as somebody that loves you.
Although the original Daredevil show was way better than any of these.
Fair enough. I'm not talking about quality, although I'd be happy to talk about quality, but I'm just talking about like what you're asking the audience to try to keep up with.
Yes.
And I hear it time and time again with former Marvel fans or kind of normies that were Marvel fans. They're like, yeah, I used to be able to keep up with it all. And at some point, like, I stopped keeping up with it. Now I'm like 5 shows behind and I don't care anymore.
Well, at least with the Netflix Daredevil show, it was like one in lower budget, lower stakes. So it's like you didn't really have to tune in. It's like these shows, it's like there's Samuel L. Jackson and it's like, it's crazy.
I was hearing somebody talk about, they were like, it is kind of curious that they would have named that show Secret Invasion and not Nick Fury.
Yeah.
Like, because normally if you had just named it Marvel's Nick Fury, people probably would try it.
Yeah, I think so. Because that's what it is, really. You could still make it the Secret Invasion storyline,
call Nick Fury's Secret Invasion or something. Nick Fury and the Secret Invasion. You could call it that. And
they could call it like Captain Marvel 1.5.
I mean, I've definitely noticed that thumbnails and titles on our videos, it makes a lot of difference. Like, because that really is, that's their first impression of the video. You get a lot of, all of the comments are about the title. Yeah. Whatever we're positing in the title a lot of the time.
Yeah, and I know like Secret Invasion, I don't know a ton about the comics, but I know that Secret Invasion is something that is known. It's a known series, a well-known series. But I think normies know Nick Fury more than that. And then
I would never try to market anything off the back of like a comic.
The other thing they should do is not make the first 3 episodes boring as fucking shit.
Yeah, give that a try.
It's like, because the 4th episode just released. I watched it because I'm a sucker for punishment. It was their best. This was the best episode of the series, but
it was pretty good.
It was and I don't feel like I needed to wade through a lot of it. And even this episode, it's like some of the dialogue just seems off or rushed or it's inauthentic. It's hard to describe. And
I was listening to Kevin Smith and Mark Bernardin talk about it on Fat Man Beyond, and they were like, Kevin, as you know, sucks the dick of anything. And he was like, I'll be honest, not really. I feel like they don't really know where they're going with phase 4 and 5 anymore. And my wife Yeah, like yes, thank you. Yeah. I mean, I'm in the bag for all this shit. If you show me Marvel anything, man, I'll go and shit like that and whatnot. But, like,
I wonder if his brain chemistry is starting to change.
I'm wondering. When you're off the weed, like you're capable of critical thought. It's gonna piss off a certain someone. But yeah, he added, he was like, yeah, I'm not saying the show is not well made. I mean, it's like beautifully made, it's very well made. I'm like, it's not well made. I'm sorry, but like, well, if by well made you mean like they shot on an expensive camera in expensive locations and they like hired like world-class actors, like, yeah, like they spent money, but it's I'm not like impressed by the cinematography very often.
Yeah, it's very shot reverse shot. I feel like the editing's loose.
Yeah.
I think this episode was the best because it had some really good character scenes, like between him and his Skrull wife, and him and Don Cheadle, Skrull. Spoilers, and then the action scene with the president getting false flagged by fake Russians. Which is
yeah, I felt like they saved all the budget for that scene.
Yeah, and so those were some good scenes, but I don't think the whole show brought me along organically to them, you know?
Yeah. But, you know, this is a time when everything's flopping. And I was watching, The Flash inspired me to watch The Death of Superman Lives again, that documentary that kind of detailed what the Tim Burton Superman movie was supposed to be. And there's a fascinating finale to it where they talk about like, well, we had just entered this era of movies, and I think in the late 90s, where a bunch of like high concept stuff had failed, where, you know, like big budget, high concept stuff had failed, like one after another. And the studios all retreated to safety. Like they all were like, we need to go back to, and they say, you know, Tim Burton's Nick Cage Superman was not a safe bet. And so we didn't do it. Ironically, they did do a safe thing with the Bryan Singer one. You know, they got Kevin Spacey as Lex, and they did, you know, they got a guy who looked like Christopher Reeve, and that movie wasn't very successful. So like Superman did need some kind of a makeover, even a long, greasy, black haired makeover. But
it probably would have been awesome.
Yeah, we all want it now. Although that was Mars Attacks Tim Burton, you know?
Yeah, true.
You're out of Tim Burton territory at that point, like good Tim Burton territory. But anyway, they were like, so all the studios retreated to, you know, they all went real commercial. They all went like, okay, what does the consumer want? And I'm watching that and I'm going like, now, of course, that may be what happens next in our present day. But I'm going like, I feel like things have been failing for a couple of years now. The Marvel stuff, the brand is just in the trash. And yeah, I'm mostly talking about Disney, but I'm talking about like DC as well.
Oh yeah, I mean the Flash did flop, and it's weird because like Black Adam, didn't it do better than the Flash
by like this much? Yeah.
Like this much, like yeah, but still, it's weird. It's weird
that it shouldn't be the case.
It shouldn't be.
But I'm sitting here going like, so how come the studios haven't retreated back to safe bets? And at the very least, they're like, what do audiences want? Let's give audiences what they want. Instead, they're like, no, Lightyear, and no, you know, like it seems like again, I keep returning to like, to be like, we're going to move forward with a Rey movie, even though this like James Mangold Indiana Jones thing just failed, even though Rise of Skywalker made it so that we just basically stopped doing Star Wars movies altogether. Like, we're still going to do it. And I'm just like, there's what you live in defiance of the consumer at a certain point.
Yeah. I put on Top Gun Maverick just while I was like washing dishes or something. And I've never seen the original Top Gun. And this one didn't really, even was half watching it, didn't really speak to me. What it does, it's very like a by the numbers like blockbuster, but what it does, and I can tell, even though I haven't seen the original Top Gun, it really respects the characters. It puts them in a realistic situation. years later, and then it pays tribute to them because there's a scene with, Tom Cruise and Val Kilmer that like totally cherishes those characters. It's like the opposite of what Disney's doing right now. And so I can see why people really liked that film.
Yeah, it's funny. After seeing The Flash, I was like, despite everything that has gone wrong about this film, they respected it, as far as like returning legacy characters go. That probably was the most respectful version I've seen in a long time. It was Michael Keaton's Batman. Because he didn't play like old man depressed Batman or anything like that. He just actually just played Batman. He just was Batman.
They didn't like kick him while he's down.
Right. I mean, what are the runaway movies? There's Avatar 2, Spider-Man No Way Home, Super Mario Brothers, Top Gun Maverick. Would you throw Sound of Freedom in there at this point? Like, I don't know if it's made that much money, but it's more successful than anybody expected.
Yeah.
So like, what do these movies have in common? I think the thing would be like, none of them are like trying to punch the audience in the dick. Like, they're all just...
They're respecting legacy characters. They're, making, especially with like Avatar, it brings the characters into a new situation, grows them, story appropriate. Same thing with Top Gun Maverick. So it's just, it's the thing you would do. Another obvious comparison is season 3 of Picard was very successful.
Oh yeah.
After 2 seasons of doing what Disney was doing, like punching the characters in the dick, they were like, wait a minute, what if we just brought them all together and actually like in a way that makes sense with the story and pay off for the audience and do a good send off for these characters. And It's like people loved it and it was successful.
Well, there's a lot of like, I've seen a common refrain, which is like, well, what did you want? For them to make Indiana Jones godlike and with no drama? What did you want? For Luke Skywalker to be godlike and no drama? It's like, so those are the two options, right? Like they're godlike or they're depressed losers who have reset their entire story. Because for me, the big thing is like, you watch each of the previous movies and you're following a story, and then off screen, the character transforms completely. Like that shouldn't happen. Like if you're going to transform them, show me. I still think the Rocky movies have done it pretty well, like with Creed and stuff. I mean, some things have happened off screen, but you get to see the kind of a logical progression of the character. And they put him in a really low place, but they always showed a lot of love for the character. I think maybe what the creatives that cook this stuff up forget sometimes, or they don't know how to reconcile, is that, look, when you're dealing with a character that's 50 years old, like in the zeitgeist for 50 years, and you take like you're working with Star Wars, okay, or Luke Skywalker. Yeah, look, for a lot of people, it's like religion,
Yeah.
It's not like, okay, how do I fuck him up and create a, you might not want to make that movie at all, actually,
Yeah.
Like, well, what story should I tell about 80-year-old Indiana Jones? I'm like, I don't know, none. You don't have to do it. He's 80 and I got to make a movie about him. So I'll kill his kid. I'll make him a drunk. And
what are you doing? What are you doing?
That's drama. What?
It's like the cheapest like edgelord thing you could do.
Yeah, it's kind of like inverse edgelord, because like the other nerd thing would be to kind of create like fan fiction out of them, like, and then Indiana Jones like fucking kills every Nazi with one punch, and like give him superpowers. He never had superpowers. But then like the inverse of it, like the other way, is to be like, how about we take a big fat shit on him. Now, I haven't seen the movie, so I'm going to hear, there's going to be sort of lengthy comments. I can imagine a few names right now who saw the movie. They're like, no, you should go see it. I thought that too, but actually Phoebe Waller-Bridge was pretty good. And, and I thought that in the end, after he met Australopithecus, or whoever the fuck he meets at the end of the movie. Achilles. Who is it?
Archimedes.
Australopithecus. I thought they respected him. I mean, sure, they slaughtered Mutt off camera.
And he wanted to die in the past, and then Phoebe Waller-Bridge punched him and dragged him to the future somehow.
Yeah, isn't that what happens in the movie? I mean, I'm not gonna watch this movie because I saw Crystal Skull once. I remember where my psychologically where I was after Crystal Skull. I remember, unlike Phantom Menace, which I was a bit younger for. It took like a few days to be like, I think that might have been bad. You know, I think that might not have been for me. But what in the theater, I was like, yeah, Star Wars.
This is it.
Not with Indiana Jones. With Indiana Jones, I'm sitting there the whole time, like wanting to put my fucking fedora down and go to sleep. And I
didn't watch it. I spared myself.
It's bad.
I saw it. I saw the previews, and I'm like, that ain't it. That ain't Indiana Jones.
And I remember going out to like when you were younger, I don't know if anybody else, like if you go out to a movie with a bunch of friends, you end up standing in the parking lot around one of your cars for a really long time chatting. Yeah. And I was expecting we'd do that. We all just went to our cars and went home. Everyone just like took off.
Bye. We're not friends anymore.
Yeah. We never spoke again. It was like the end of Stand By Me. We all like walked off, like faded out of the end of Crystal Skull. Goodbye. So I don't know. I actually have a hard time believing that. I doubt that Dial of Destiny was worse than Crystal Skull. But if it was, it would be in the same way that kind of like Force Awakens is worse than Phantom Menace, if you know what I mean. Like, it's like, well, technically it's not. Yeah. But spiritually it is.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh man. I can't even, like, I knew, like in my mind, oh, it's the best of the three, but I'm never going to watch it again because Rise of Skywalker is so bad.
Yeah. That's another one where like, I feel like the internet didn't even really properly talk about that movie.
Because you just look at it and you're like, oh fuck.
That could have been something we could have all come together about. It was this thing's a piece of shit. But part of the I think the problem was that like you had one side saying like, well, it's only a piece of shit because Last Jedi boxed it in and gave them no way out. And then you have the other side being like, no, Last Jedi like set a new direction and then this erased all that and made that all for naught. And so like both sides were dissatisfied.
Yeah. It's still, but it does put a period on that whole thing. That whole trilogy. It's just like, oh, this is irredeemable. It
makes it a very easy, sound business decision for Bob Iger to be like, we won't make any more movies. We can't do it. We don't know how. We forgot. We'll make shoddy television. Would you like to watch some of that?
And if we do have a hit show, we'll make a really terrible third season.
Yeah, just stick around. I would like, if there's somebody out there who loves Rise of Skywalker, it's a genuine Rise of Skywalker fan, have seen it multiple times. They have some merchandise, maybe a poster in their room, something like that. Let me know. I'd love to have you on the show and we'd love to interview you. I'd like to speak to you.
Yeah, be like, so they fly now, huh?
It's a bit of a meme, but like, what do you think about Lando Calrissian's contribution to this movie?
Just sitting in a chair. Hey, yeah.
I think like I'm trying to imagine like what would somebody say about like why they liked Rise of Skywalker. It would have to be like, I like seeing things I recognize, like Emperor Palpatine and
fast editing.
Yeah, I mean, to me, I'm like, dude, if you had just shown me
it's like edited like a fucking Coco Melon like music video.
The wheels on the bus go around.
It's like the like images changing like every. They like scientifically design those Coco Melon things to like never break the attention of a toddler.
Remember they were like underground and she like force healed some worm at some point. Remember any of
because they were like, oh shit, she has to force heal somebody at the end. We have to like establish this.
Set it up.
So we like put her in front of a green screen. It's like, you're healing a worm now. Okay.
And then they're going to go to Poe's planet and run into Felicity in a mask because JJ knows her. Why are they doing that? We don't know. And I actually watched like the full length making of at the time, and it just seems to be a lot of like they're all having their own little private Star Tours where they have like John Williams on set. He's gonna cameo today. They get to speak to him about what it's like to write cool music, and they're kind of like half paying. They're like they're gonna do a Babu Freak thing or whatever, Babu Frick, but they're kind of half paying attention to it. They didn't, you know. And do you remember the first couple of episodes of Mandalorian season 1 came out before Rise of Skywalker did?
Right. Yeah, and that was like kind of good. And you're like, okay, you know.
And everybody was like, maybe we should just do that, and that's what set the direction from that point on. Anyway, Rise, yeah. If you're out there, we'd love to talk to you. We'd like to learn about your life, learn about your choices. Learn about what drugs you're on and what diagnosis
psychoanalyze you.
We'd like to hear about it.
Subscribe to Red Cow Entertainment on Patreon for full episodes every other week.